So a little bit of clearing up work being done after the BCV8 race. As you can see, we've got the Croft sweeper into operation. That'll be just to try and make sure that cement dust is put down and then swept in appropriately. So there's no problem with grip levels as far as the next race is concerned, which is the Toyota MR2 Championship race. And we will look ahead to that in just a moment. Another good grid of cars. I think 34 cars that we have here for the MR2s this weekend. And they are having already rounds 5 and 6 of their championship, with the first 4 races having taken place at Donington Park and Silverstone. Unfortunately, our championship leader, Paul Cook, unable to take part in the races here this weekend. So that's an opportunity for the likes of Alistair Topley and Sean Traynor and Ben Rowe to make up some ground. Sean Traynor, of course, the 3-time champion in the Gala Performance Toyota MR2 Championship, with Ben Rowe, someone who's been there or thereabouts for many years and was certainly the runner-up during the course of last season. So another very good grid of cars for the Gala Performance Toyota MR2s. For the opening round of the championship at Donington Park on Easter Monday, it was a double victory from Paul Cook, who won more races than anybody else in the 750 Motor Club last year. But at Silverstone, the last meeting of the championship, Sean Traynor, the 2015, 2017 and 2018 champion, bounced back very well indeed. We had some very entertaining races from the MR2s there at Silverstone. And although it was Sean Traynor that came out on top, there was some very good battles along the way, and a variety of different drivers making it onto the podium as well. Indeed, in the it was Alistair Topley and Stuart Nichols that were on the podium as well in race 1. Stuart Nichols in his Roadster, and Paul Cook and Stuart Nichols in race 2, with Dave Hemingway, Sean Traynor and Stuart Nichols winning their respective classes last time out at Silverstone. So the sweeping up has been mostly finished, and the cars are now being released out onto the circuit. The MR2s, of course, do not get a green flag lap, so once they get onto the grid, it's straight into racing. And like the last race, as Andy said, it was a 13-minute plus 1 lap race around this 2.1 mile Croft circuit, and a very good race in prospect, although it was Sean Traynor that was quite a bit quicker in qualifying. He did get his best lap time disallowed though for a track limits infringement, so the best time that he's been credited with was a 1:38.46. Nick Williamson second on the grid today, a 1:39.48. The lap record for these cars held by Jim Davis, a 1:41.04, and this is what we were talking about earlier on in terms of this newly resurfaced track being in pretty good condition, although there are a couple of drivers with their windscreen wipers on now, so that's an interesting dimension to this. So we've got a bit of rain out there, Andy?
Yeah, I just popped out of the commentary box just for a couple of minutes, and yeah, it's definitely starting to rain reasonably heavily. Not enough to make the circuit wet, but certainly a bit greasy in places, and this will be, for many of them, or certainly today, the first time they've driven in these slightly changeable conditions. And in fact, as the cars are coming to the grid, I can see that they're cutting sort of grooves through the grease on the circuit, so it's definitely getting damp out there, and the rain is certainly not easing off anytime soon.
Yeah, and a newly resurfaced track as well. That often is very interesting when it does get a little bit in-betweeny, a little bit damp and greasy. So is Sean Traynor, the white number 27 car that you can see there on pole position, and alongside him is the blue and turquoise number 22 car of Nick Williamson, who's moved over from the M3 Cup for this season. And then you've got Ben Rowe, number 2, the black and gold coloured car. He's been doing a lot of work on the car since the last meeting, where he had some damage after an incident in qualifying to get it in something like the right shape, although it says the door doesn't still quite close properly. And Chris Thomas is alongside him in car number 3. That's the car with the Dayglow trim. And it's really a top 6 lockout by the Class B cars. The Mark II's the most powerful of the MR2s, because you've then got 2 newcomers to the championship this season who've both been really impressive. Number 41, Alistair Topley in one of the Rogue Motorsport run cars, and number 96, Aaron Cook. You can see in the sort of middle of the shot there the red car with its wipers going, number 71, Graham Mailings. He is the first of the non-Class B cars, the first of the Roadsters, the Mark IIIs, the cars from the 2000s, and he's got quite a gap back to the next of those, because Mick Nichols is the next of them, and he starts 14th, so he's got 7 or 6 Class B cars between the 2 Class C cars. Best of the Class A cars, the Mark I cars from the 1980s, that's Dave Hemingway, number 55. He will line up on the outside of row 10 of the grid, but watch out also for Neil Stratton and Gareth Baxter within that class. So we've got a slightly greasy track this time for the MR2s. Be interested to see what effect that does have on the lap times. Is it going to be Sean Traynor that can make it a hat-trick of victories, adding to the 2 at Silverstone 4 weeks ago? Or is it going to be Nick Williamson, who's certainly had his best qualifying so far in the MR2s, that might spring a surprise? Certainly he'll be hoping to convert this front row start into at least a podium. 32nd board goes up, and it looks like we are going to get a green flag lap on this occasion, with the conditions having changed slightly since qualifying for the MR2s. And one of the cars not particularly well away being Nick Williamson, the man who was starting on the front row, possibly caught out maybe by the fact that we now do have a green flag lap, which we don't normally do. So we'll walk through the grid for you. And as we say, on pole position, it is the number 27 car of Sean Traynor. Alongside him, number 22, Nick Williamson, his best qualifying so far. Ben Rowe and Chris Thomas on the 2nd row of the grid, both been quick in this championship for a few years now. And the newcomers on row 3, Alistair Topley and Aaron Cook. Graham Mailings flying the flag for the Roadsters. He's on P7, alongside him Sam Harper. Wayne Lewis and Gavin Aldworth, 2 more stalwarts of the championship. Matthew Welford it is that lines up 11th alongside Lee Brown. Tim Heron probably a bit further back than he would like to be and expect to be on the row 7. Mick Nichols next to him. Jonathan Grimes and the Roadster of Pete Higton, 2 Roadsters in fact, next to one another on row 8. Maxine Nichols, minor TV celebrity, and Andrew Ruthven alongside him on row 9. Ashley Parsons and Dave Hemingway, the first of the Class A cars on the 10th row. Matthew Allen and Neil Stratton, another Mark I. Gareth Baxter and Oliver Aldworth round out row 12. Stuart Briley and Phil Collins on the 13th row of the grid. Dominic Early, Marcus Watts, row 14. Michael Japp in the 42 car, and David Rowe, father of Ben, also made the long trip up from Devon. He's on the 15th row, and Simon Quinn and Patrick Stoner on row 16. And just a couple more cars to go. Wags Firmin and Scott Hughes rounding out a very busy 34 car field for round 5 of the Gala Performance Toyota MR2 Championship. So Andy, these changing conditions then, it adds a little extra dimension that we weren't expecting. This rain possibly even getting a little bit heavier now. Yeah,
but the circuit still isn't fully wet, is it? This is sort of the damp and greasy stage that a lot of the drivers don't really like, because it's not quite wet enough to take the full wet racing lines around the outsides of the circuit where the grip tends to be when it's fully wet, but it's also quite slippery still on the traditional racing lines, so wherever you go you're going to have a lack of grip, and we're about to send 34 Toyota MR2s into a very tight first sequence of corners. Clervaux and Hawthorne is tricky enough in the dry. When it's wet, all it takes is for one car to slip slightly, and there's almost certainly going to be some contact, and possibly a few more cars could get involved. So really, for the first half or lap or so, I think survival is key.
I think you're absolutely right. This is a race, like most, that isn't going to be won at the first corner, but it could quite easily be lost. I guess the one that you have a little bit of concern for is Nick Williamson, because he's pretty not used to starting on the front row, certainly in this championship. I think he may have had the odd front row start in the M3 Cup previously, but this is a different kettle of fish altogether. Many more cars on the grid, much more competitive. There's some very quick drivers indeed behind him. It's going to be a fascinating race. The 5-second board has been shown. The wipers are going. The lights are on. And out they go. And it's a great start from both of the front row men, really, but a slightly better start by Sean Traynor. It looks like he's got a slight advantage as they head down towards the first corner. Alistair Topley from the third row of the grid has gone away pretty well too. Traynor using the curb there. That allows Nick Williamson to go around the outside. Now, are they all going to get safely through Clairvaux for the first time? The answer appears to be just about yes, but it is Nick Williamson then who's converted that outside of the front row grid slot into an early lead. Sean Traynor's back to second, Chris Thomas third. There's one of them going a little bit wide there as well. Fourth place is Ben Rowe at the moment as they head down towards Tower Corner for the first time, and Traynor already trying to have a go at Nick Williamson down into the right-hander, but he's not made anything of it yet, Andy.
Yeah, Wayne Lewis, the green and black number 7 car, was the, I think, only man of the 34 to skip the chicane, which was fairly impressive. Everybody else found a gap in line somewhere and got through there. Not necessarily single file, some side-by-side action, but he was the only one, I think, that took the shortcut, which is perfectly legal, particularly on the first lap, as long as you don't gain an advantage, which I don't think he did. The race leaders, though, through Barcroft into the right-hander at Sunny Ian, and Sean Traynor already keen to get on with this. Maybe he's got to grips with these conditions on this new surface a little more quickly than Nick Williamson, but Nick has the advantage of track position. Can overtake in MR2 racing, but no doubt in these conditions being out in front is definitely the place to be.
Absolutely. So it is Nick Williamson that leads then, and it's a breakaway of 6 cars, and is the top 6 cars on the grid, not necessarily in the order in which they started, that have made a bit of a break over the 7th place car at the moment. Chris Thomas there in 3rd place in the car that twice won the championship in the hands of Matt Palmer, was having a go at Sean Traynor, but Sean Traynor now trying to pull alongside the race leader Nick Williamson as they make their way down the start to finish straight towards Clairvaux Corner. Nick Williamson driving a defensive line there and was going to try and force Traynor to go the long way around the outside, but he couldn't make it. But noticeably there, those first two have now just pulled out a little bit of a gap as we watch the 4th place, or 5th place battle I should say, Alistair Topley and Aaron Cook briefly. Back with the leaders, or back with the 3rd and 4th place battle though, that's Chris Thomas and Ben Ray. So they're starting to pair off now. Yeah,
off onto the grass there went, I think that was Aaron Cook at the back of that lead group slightly, coming out of the chicane on the run down towards Tower Corner. Graham Mailings, by the way, 9th position, still leads in Class C. Dave Hemingway down in 20th is exactly where he started, 20th overall and leading in Class A. Mailings has lost a couple of positions to some of the Class B cars, but that won't particularly concern him, I don't think. The dominant force in Class C so far this year has been Stuart Nichols, but he's not here this weekend, so we are guaranteed a new winner in the Class C runners. The rest of the field, though, up through Barcroft, still no change in the order, and they're grouping together now for 3rd place.
Yes, they are. It's and a challenge for the lead there. A bit of a mistake there by Nick Williamson. He's managed to hang on to it as they head into Sunny Out. He's kept the lead then from Sean Traynor down this short straight then with the marshals with their hoods up now. It's getting a bit miserable out there. It's still the Williamson car that's holding on just about from Traynor, but they're 3 wide further back, and it's going to be Aaron Cook that clatters into the side there of Chris Thomas. They both spin. Thomas comes off worse. He's pointing backwards. He loses a place to number 18, Sam Harper as well, who was not in that leading sextet. So the 2 leaders are still together. It's still Williamson from Traynor, but there's now a gap opened up to Ben Rowe in 3rd place. The 2 leaders getting alongside one another again this time. And this time I think Sean Traynor is going to try and have a look down the inside into Clairvaux Corner, but he can't make it. So he is back, just showing his nose on the outside again. So what's happened as a result of that is that Aaron Cook has come through 4th, Alistair Topley 5th, Sam Harper now up inside the top 6.
Gareth Baxter, by the way, who was running at a podium place in Class A, has had a spin as well, coming into the complex and rejoined at the back of the field. That was a bit clumsy, wasn't it? 3 abreast through the complex was never likely to work, and unfortunately it has cost 1 or 2 of them fairly dearly. The race leaders, though, are side by side, are they not? Quite into Tower. Sean Traynor keeps looking to the inside. He's trying to apply the pressure here, maybe force a mistake out of Nick Williamson, but Nick, so far at least, is driving pretty much a wheel-perfect race. He's not opening the door on the inside line anywhere for Sean Traynor. He's telling Sean that if you want this race lead away, you're going to have to work for it.
Yeah, Trainer, a 3-time champion though. It's no mean effort to try and keep a driver with that kind of record at bay. And Ben Rowe possibly getting a little bit closer to the top two again. Maybe Nick Williamson's just delaying the two of them now. He's got Aaron Cook right with him as well as they turn their way through the first and now the second part of Sunny. Alistair Topley is still there as well, and Sam Harper, the white car with blue stripes in the background, you can see he's there in 6th. It looks like Graham Mailings now is in 7th place, as well as a mistake there from Trainer, and that costs him dear because Ben Rowe goes through and Aaron Cook's going to try and go around the outside, but he gets a wheel on the grass and he nearly spins it and narrowly avoids collecting there the Alistair Topley car as it came through as well. And as somehow Trainer's come back out still in 2nd place there, but with a reduced or an increased gap to Nick Williamson in the lead of the race.
Yeah, he dived back up the inside of Ben Rowe at the hairpin. It was a typical Croft last corner move, and it worked nicely there for Trainer. He was trying that outside line through the first part of the complex, which in theory is where the grip is when it's fully wet. But this is what I was alluding to earlier on. It's not quite fully wet yet, and I think he just ran out of grip and understeered off the road. He crossed the line 3/4 of a second behind the race leader, but I would say it's already down to less than half that now as they head down the back straight. It's side by side though, nearly for 3rd place as Aaron Cook, after that contact he had a few laps ago, still going strongly. Challenges now to get into the top 3. Sean Trainer up the inside for the race lead though. He's tried the outside, now he finally gets to the inside, eases his way through, and Nick Williamson knew when he was beat there he has to hand over the race lead to Sean Trainer.
Does indeed, and it's actually getting much closer, isn't it now? I wonder if it's going to stay that way, because already look, Trainer is able to pull out a few car lengths over Nick Williamson. So you've got Williamson, you've got Ben Rowe number 2, you've then got the number 96 car of Aaron Cook, the 41 car of Alistair Topley, then a bit of a gap back to the rest. Ben Rowe is going to the outside line, that leaves the door wide open on the inside for Aaron Cook to try and find a way through. I don't think he's going to need a second invitation. Rowe is trying to drive all the way around the outside of him. We will have the inside line for the next part of the circuit. That's the left hand of the complex, but it's too late. He's already actually lost 2 places now because it looks like Topley has gone back through as well. And up the inside of Nick Williamson goes Aaron Cook, number 96 there. He's certainly not shy, is he? Isn't Aaron Cook, and he's gone through into 2nd place, but now Alistair Topley is trying to drive around the outside of him. The danger is he might get hung out to dry now. Fortunately for him, he's not been. So it's now it's now Sean Trainer leading by about 3/4 of a mile as into the pits comes our Class C leader, Graham Mailings. So it's Sean Trainer from Aaron Cook by nearly 3 seconds now.
Nick Williamson on the outside line here into Clervaux. He's trying to go back round the outside of Alistair Topley. That doesn't work, and you have to feel for Ben Rowe really, because he was challenging for 2nd about half a lap ago, and now he's all the way down in 5th position. But this is, I think, a battle that's going to rage right the way through the remaining 5.5 minutes plus a lap. There is Graham Mailings, who was your fairly comfortable Class C leader. This will now mean that Mick Nichols inherits the class lead, down in 11th place overall, with Peter Higton into 2nd and Jonathan Grimes into the podium places.
Yeah, so there you could see Mailings there just popping the engine cover on the MR2. But he's out of it. Oh, and so too out of it as well is the number 86 car. And that is Lee Brown, who started on row 6 of the grid, and he was running in 17th place, so he has ground to a halt as well. 5 minutes plus 1 lap left to go in this race, and now we're watching the battle for what is 4th place between Nick Williamson and Ben Rowe. Yeah,
Williamson definitely struggling a bit, isn't he? He's dropped away now from the 3 cars in front fairly significantly, and has Ben Rowe for company. There is at least a bit of a gap back to Sam Harper in 6th position though, so barring any mistakes, Williamson should still be on for a top 5 finish here. There will, though, I think, be a fair few discussions after the race with regard to some of the antics through the final complex of corners. In this little group, look, is the recovering number 3 car of Chris Thomas, down in 12th place at the start of the lap. I think he's just gained another one at the expense of our Class C leader, Mick Nichols. So Chris Thomas is recovering, but he was the first driver to get elbowed out of the way by Aaron Cook at the complex, and he's now fighting his way back towards the top 10.
And Aaron Cook has just done the best lap of the race, a 1:42.87 seconds. It's about 2/10 quicker than Sean Trainer has been, but outside the lap record still. I think the lap record in the 1:41s. So they're well under it in the dry in qualifying, but in the wet, or the semi-wet in the race, they're a little bit outside of it. There you're watching the number 15 car of Gavin Aldworth, and he is battling with Matthew Allen for the first position just outside the top 10. So 11th and 12th. Gavin Aldworth and Matthew Allen. Just ahead of them, you could see there briefly the number 33 car of Mick Nichols. He is now our Class C leader. Class A, by the way, being led by 55 David Hemingway, the best of the Mark 1s, but he's got a little bit of a gap over his nearest class rival. Now you can see number 4, Peter Higton, and that's back to this battle again. Are we going to get a change of position here? Matthew Allen trying to drive around the outside at Tower Corner. I don't think that's going to work for him. And off into the gravel trap at Clairvaux has gone number 70. That's Stuart Briley. That's at Clairvaux Corner, and he's well and truly beached there, Andy.
Yeah, from 5th in Class C as well, and he'd inherited a top 20 position overall, as a few others had fallen by the wayside. Now that may be deemed, in fact I'm sure it will be deemed, a dangerous position. The double wave yellow flags are out at Clairvaux. I wonder whether or not that will require a safety car, or at this stage of the race maybe a red flag to get it moved out of the way. Certainly Aaron Cook will hope not though, because he at the moment is lapping quicker than the race leader.
In fact, I can just see from our window the live snatch vehicle is making its way out to try and collect that Stuart Briley number 70 machine, so hopefully that can be done under double wave yellow flags and there'll be no further disruption to the race. Now the leaders meanwhile have come through to complete another lap. It's driving standard flag being shown to one of the drivers, we know not who, that I expect is for a track limits infringement earlier on. Meanwhile this battle down the order is still going on between 65 and 15. Matthew Allen and Gavin Aldworth, they have changed position, but they're side by side almost going over the line this time. And as I say, this is for 11th and 12th. It did swap round, and it looks like Allen's able to hold on to that place.
Yep, and now ought to have the pace to pull away. I wonder whether or not he can catch the Class C leader, Mick Nichols, in front of him and get into the top 10 overall. There's the number 15 of Gavin Aldworth, so he slips down an extra position. Peter Higton, though, is a few seconds behind him and not in the same class, so he won't be overly concerned about that. Nice little battle that, though, and it took a few laps, didn't it, for Matthew Allen to finally make the move stick, and Gavin Aldworth nearly throws it all away by running wide through the exit of the chicane. The grassy in, turns out, isn't all that grippy in the wet.
Yeah, enter stage right. He came out from nowhere, didn't he, onto our screens there. And that's the 31 car we're now looking at. That's Matthew Welford, the local man from Darlington. He lives in, the 40-year-old self-employed joiner. Has been racing, or this car's been racing in the championship, and so too has Matthew for the last 3 seasons, starting out at Cadwell Park in 2017.
Race leaders then are down at the complex, as here we see Peter Higton, who is starting to fall behind now Matthew Welford. In fact, Welford's gone through on the previous lap. Again, they're running in different classes. Welford a Class B car, and the Roadster Class C car of Peter Higton that is second in class. There he is, the very well prepared white and orange number 4 car. As they go out of Clairvaux, the leaders, by the way, are going on to their penultimate lap of the race, because with 42 seconds left on the clock, by the time they next get around, the time will have elapsed to 0, and then they get an extra lap. There's a spinner there I saw in the distance at Sunny, someone from down the order, I'm not entirely sure who, as we focus on Chris Thomas and his continued fight back, which is, he's got him into 9th place now, hasn't he? He's just cleared another group of cars to get into the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely, and just behind you can see the number 7 car of Wayne Lewis going up the inside of number 8. That is Tim Heron. Tim Heron with a different colour on his car for this season. They're actually just behind Chris Thomas, so I think we've actually got Chris Thomas a little bit further up the order than our screen is showing us at the moment. We have had all of the timed elements of the race. There we go, the screen updates. He's up to 6th place, in fact. He's not going to get any higher though, because he's 12 seconds behind Ben Rowe. He's heading into Tower Corner as the race continues to fall. And we've got a car off in the complex as well. That's the number 28 car of Phil Collins. I didn't see what the genesis of that incident was for him. And another car off as well. That's at Sunny, off onto the old circuit.
Yeah, that car was going slowly at the start of the lap. It's number 49, David Rowe, unfortunately, so father of Ben, pulling off the road. But as for the car we had off of the complex, it seemed to be missing its rear wing, which certainly won't be helping.
Meanwhile, the leaders are about to come through to start their final lap. Sean Traynor, whose gap is still around about 3 seconds, but a good scrap going on here as well. And that is Ashley Parsons, you can see in number 83, just up the road in the Dayglow pink car. I should explain the minor TV celebrity for Maxine Nichols. She is a driving instructor by occupation, and she took part in a program I think was called Celebrity Driving School, which was on E4, which is not a channel I watch an awful lot, Andy.
You surprise me, Ian. I do seem to remember dipping in and out of that, though, and seeing Maxine on there, and very talented driver indeed. Oops, and there's a bit of contact through the final corner there, I think, between these cars dicing away across the start-finish line. This is, I believe, the fight for 7th place, I reckon, because yes, to the front of that group now goes Wayne Lewis. McNichols there, the leading roadster, is also drawing alongside, and the man losing out is Tim Heron, or is he? He's going to try and fight back through the first corner. It was these two, I think, that tangled at the hairpin a moment or two ago. They're in danger of rubbing body panels again into Hawthorne, but it looks as though Nichols will go through. The race leaders, though, are elsewhere on this now, the final lap of the race. 3.3 seconds the advantage for Sean Traynor over Aaron Cook, but Aaron has been caught over recent laps by Alistair Topley, who continues to impress, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. He's having a very good debut, and he is, with Paul Cook ruled out this meeting, the de facto championship leader as well. He's had a couple of fourths, in fact 3 fourth places I think, and a podium finish as well so far during the course of this season. So the 27 car turns his way through now into the right-hander at Clairvaux. Through into the complex they go for the final time, and it is the there is the Alistair Topley car going through, turning his way now through the complex for the final time then, but the race leader is already out of the hairpin, and it's going to be Sean Traynor that comes through to take the checkered flag. As you can see there, he takes the checkered flag by quite a comfortable margin in the end over Aaron Cook in second place, who had a very eventful race indeed. Alistair Topley is in third place, number 41. Fourth place goes to number 22, which is Nick Williamson. We've got a spinner, though, on the back straight as well, who has done a full 360 and rejoined. That was the 25 car, was that? And is scanning his list. 23, I think.
23. I don't know. There's 23
okay.
either. We'll figure that out in a moment or two.
Chris Thomas came across the line in 6th. Mick Nichols took 7th place. Wayne Lewis took 8th. Tim Heron took 9th. Gavin Aldworth rounded out the top 10, and Matthew Welford, the local man, came home in 11th place. So Mick Nichols winning his class. Peter Higton, I think, should have been the next car through to complete the second place in Class C. Andrew Whitford 13th, Matthew Allen in 14th position, and Jonathan Grimes, another of the Class C cars, just going over the line now ahead of Maxine Nichols. Dave Hemingway, by the way, has won Class A for the Mark 1, so a very entertaining MR2 race, certainly in those early stages. But it did settle down amongst the first 5 or 6 towards the end, didn't it, Andy?
Yeah, once Sean Traynor got the race lead, he was always going to be difficult to catch, wasn't he? And that will now be Sean Traynor's 3rd win of the season. The only reason that he's down in 4th place in the championship going into this weekend is because he had a non-finish in the second race at Donington Park. But you drop your 2 worst scores over the season, so if you take that out of the equation, he's right in the mix as well. And if he keeps winning races like this, has to arguably now be becoming one of the firm championship favourites. Thoroughly impressed though by Alistair Topley. He's going well. Ben Rowe, a slightly disappointing result that time around, will be looking to bounce back in race 2.
Yeah, Sean Traynor it was that took the win then by 3.5 seconds in the end from Aaron Cook in second place. Alistair Topley took 3rd, Nick Williamson 4th. After leading the race early on, so we're a bit disappointed not to get a podium out of that. Ben Rowe back in 5th place. Chris Thomas recovering a little bit. Further back, Matthew Welford, the local man, took 11th from Peter Higton. Andrew Ruffin, Matthew Allen, Jonathan Grimes 15th. Dave Hemingway up to 16th in the end in the first of the Class A cars. Neil Stratton, as you can see, in 20th place overall, was 2nd within that class. And further back down the order, Michael Japp 21st, Simon Quinn 22nd, but then you're getting in some of the drivers that didn't make it all the way towards the end with various problems as the race went on. We saw that moment for Phil Collins, certainly towards the end, although he's shown on our screen in 30th position. And just outside the top 30, we've got David Rowe, Stuart Riley, Lee Brown and Graham Mailings were our non-finishers. So that was the Gala Performance Toyota MR2 Championship race, the first of 2 races today for these cars. Sean Traynor, having to contend with those very difficult conditions, gets out of the car, and he will be greeted by the 750 Motor Club Marketing Communications Manager James Winstanley, and he will head over to Josh Barrett to have a word.
Okay, our MR2 Championship race winner, Sean Traynor. Well done, Sean. It was a tricky race, tricky conditions.
It was, yeah. We really weren't set up for the wet out there. It was. I don't think, to be fair, anyone was really set up for the wet. It was. It was just making the best of luck. I didn't get a great start. and then I sort of had a few tussles trying to get through into the lead, and then I sort of got knocked wide, and then I was back into third, and then a bit of a lunge on Ben coming into the final corner. I don't think he's sort of got people both sides. He's sort of come across we were about 4 abreast, I think, going in there. So yeah, it was tricky, and I'm not sure. I think it was Aaron that I could see coming up behind, and he was catching me, and I thought, you better pull your finger. At one point, I thought I got a nice gap, and then he started catching. I thought, you better pull your finger out. I was trying to find a lap time for next race. So I don't know where we are for the next race, but.
And obviously Croft being resurfaced this year, really quick in the dry. What was it like in those conditions?
To be fair, the race line is almost the race line in the wet, where normally we'd come off the line. Like, we've raced here about 3 years ago, I think, in the wet, and the line in the wet was right off on a completely different line, where I tried it once and that doesn't work. So
well done, Sean.
All right, cheers.
That was Sean Traynor, our race winner. Second place was Aaron Cook, who's new to the championship this year. Well done, Aaron. Second place, a real battle though.
Yeah, quite a battle. Sorry for the guy that I hit. I was going around the outside Ben Rowe, and it just sort of, he moved across. I braked and it just went straight on. So I'm sorry to him, but yeah, good for second place, and hopefully do it again next one.
For your first year in the championship, I think your first year of racing as well. This has been a really good start to the year.
I've done a bit of over racing, but this is my first year on circuit. So yeah, 2 second places this year. So hopefully we'll get some wins now.
And you say it's so close, and obviously be up there later. Would you prefer the dry, or because you come over racing, don't mind the wet weather?
No, I prefer the wet. I struggled in qualifying. I had some new tyres on, but we put the old ones back on, come out in the rain, so yeah, a lot better.
Well done.
Cheers, mate.
It's Aaron Cook in second. Third place up here is Alistair Topley. Ali, third place there. Again, like I said to the other two, I think it was a 5-car battle up front.
Yeah, it was. That was a hell of a lot of fun, but also really nerve-wracking. The track was changing every lap. There was Sean was trying to get away, but then even at the start, Sean was in the battle, and yeah, I don't know if you caught it there, but we were 4 wide going into there. It was really hairy. I'm just really glad I survived, and me and Aaron got 2-3, so that's really good.
And are you like Aaron, like these conditions, or do you prefer the dry?
I'm kind of so-so. I'm not too bad. Aaron's a rainmeister. He loves them. But you know what? After a podium, I can't say I don't like the wet. So yeah, really good.
And a great start to the year for you as well.
Yeah, really good, consistent finishes. And I mean, I wasn't even meant to be here today. 48 hours from now, I wasn't meant to be racing. My wife's due with a second child any day. And all of a sudden, she said, "Oh, you can go watch if you want." The team then said they could get the car here, which they did yesterday. So thanks very much to Rogue Motorsport, and I'll go and check my phone now and make sure she's not in labour.
Well done on the third place. So that was our top 3 overall. Up here we got Dave Hemingway, and Dave was our Class A winner for the Mark 1 cars, and I think you were battling with some of the newer machines as well.
Yeah, I didn't see any more Mark 1s while we were out there. I got stuck at the back of Maxine for a while, managed to get past her, and made a bit of inroads on the guy in front, but he was making it fairly wide, so I didn't get past. But yeah, good race, enjoyed it.
Even though this year you've sort of been by yourself in the Mark 1, you've had lots of other cars to race against.
Yeah, unfortunately Neil's been getting bad starts. His car and his lap times are as quick as mine, so if we get together we're going to have a good race, but we keep getting something sandwiched between us, so maybe next race, we'll see.
Well done.
Thank you.
So that was our Class A winner, which was Dave Hemingway. Third was Alistair Topley. Second was Aaron Cook, and our race winner, Sean Traynor. We'll see the MR2s later on. We've got a short lunch break now, but 7 races to look forward to later on, starting off with the F1000 Championship, so join us for that.